If you want a brand new website for your business with a really modern, light, and airy feel, I've got you covered here. I'm going to show you a really easy step-by-step method for creating this website, or one that feels like it, in under an hour with no technical skills needed from you. So in an hour, you could be up and running with your brand new website, making a great first impression with your prospects. And yes, this is the same way I create websites for my actual clients, and this is how I teach it in my paid program as well. And it's super easy, even for the newest newbies out there. So you can definitely do this, and it's free. So a few months back, I posted a tutorial on how to create a bold, simple, Apple-inspired website, and people really seem to like that. So I want to make this a new feature on this channel, showing you how to create websites in all kinds of current styles. And this time around, I wanted to focus on that light, breezy kind of style that's pretty heavily influenced by Instagram. So if you think this kind of style would be a good fit for your business, I'll walk you through it step by step, and you can always customize it as we go with your own colors, fonts, and images. So it's ultimately going to feel like this, but it's also going to feel like your brand at the end of the day. And we're using WordPress and the free version of Elementor, a really simple drag and drop page builder, but it's so much better than Wix or Squarespace because you're not going to be limited by the templates they have, and you end up owning the site, not just renting it with a monthly recurring charge. But it is really important to keep in mind that in this video, I'm just walking you through the creation process, the building process. We're not getting into content or conversion methods in this video, but I do have you covered on all that stuff in my free on-demand masterclass training, how to create and launch your own profitable client-generating website without any of the content confusion, tech troubles, or designer price tags. Now, you definitely don't want to miss out on this because the planning and the content that you put on your site is actually the most important piece here. So just click the link in the description below to save your seat in that on-demand masterclass. Okay, so if you're ready, let's get building. Okay, so starting right out, we're in the dashboard area of your WordPress. And if you don't have hosting yet, if you don't have WordPress installed yet and you need hosting, just go to wesmcdowell.com/hosting. That is my affiliate link, but it will give you my discount for my preferred hosting of choice. So that would be the first step if you don't already have that. But once you're there, once you've got WordPress installed, what we need to do is install the plugins that are going to help us build our pages. So what we do is go over to Plugins, Add New, and the first one we're going to look for is called Elementor. And then the first one here, Elementor Page Builder, just click on Install Now, and then Activate. And this one is completely free. There is a pro version that has extra features involved with it, but we're not going to use that today. And we're just going to click out of here because there's one more plugin we need in order to build our menu, because that is normally a thing that you need Elementor Pro for. So what we're going to do is a little workaround. So then click on Search Plugins, and you're going to type in Elementor Header Footer, and it's this first one right here, Elementor Header Footer and Blocks Template. So just click on Install Now and Activate. Next thing, we actually need our theme to be working here. So go over to Appearance and Themes. What we want to do is choose one that's going to work the best with Elementor. And honestly, Elementor works with all themes, but there's one that they built themselves that works best with it. So I'm going to click on Add New Theme, and I'm going to search for Hello. And it's this one right here. Just click on Install and Activate. All right, so let's just go back out to the dashboard here. And then you should see a big Elementor block right here, and just click on Create New Page. Okay, so see how we see all this kind of stuff up here that comes with a theme. It's kind of ugly, so we're going to get rid of that. Just go down to the very bottom left under this gear icon, Settings, and under Page Layout, we're going to choose Elementor Canvas. And that gives us a brand new workspace with nothing on it. Okay, so before we begin, what we really want to do is set our fonts and our colors. So hopefully you have had a chance to go to Google Fonts and you can kind of find a font combination that you like, or you can just do it in real time in here. It's up to you. So just go up to this little hamburger icon right here and click on Default Fonts. And here we're going to set up our primary headline, secondary, body text, and accent text. So for primary headline, I'm going to choose one called Oswald. And then for secondary headline, I'm going to choose one called Mr. de Havilland. think it goes nicely with our Instagram theme here. And then for body text, I'm just going to choose a nice simple clean one called equestrial. And accent text, in case you're wondering, is usually the text on the button. So I'm just going to choose equestrial for that as well. All right, now click on apply up here. If you don't click apply, it's not going to save any of those changes. And then from here, we can set our default colors. Just go back up to the hamburger. Default colors. So basically, this is going to be your primary headline color, secondary text, and then this accents your button color. So I'm going to set the primary color to not quite black, but a nice, really deep navy blue. And I'm going to set the same color for secondary headline and text as well. And for our button color, I've chosen a nice like turquoise teal color. All right, so that's all chosen, and I'm just going to click on apply. Okay, so now the real fun can begin, and we can start building out our page starting at the top with the hero section. So there are different ways you can build pages within Elementor. There's two different choices here. So basically what we have are sections. So this would be a section with columns inside that, and then widgets you can drag inside of the columns. So let's just take a quick look. One thing we can do here is click on the folder icon, which is going to bring up all these pre-formatted pages. I don't generally recommend going this way because it makes you shoehorn your content into whatever they've come up with. I prefer to use blocks, if anything. That way you can just kind of take these really simple layouts and then customize them with your own colors and fonts and all that good stuff. But what we're going to do right now is actually do it from scratch so you really can see how it's done. So just click on the plus icon, and you can choose the number of columns you have. We are going to choose a nice 2-column layout for this hero section. And this is the section. It's in blue. It doesn't look like anything yet. There's nothing in there. So we just go to this little grid icon. This is where all the widgets are kept, and take a heading and just drag it right over here, and then go back to the widgets and then drag a text editor underneath that, followed by a button. And one thing we want to do, so basically we can control what happens with each column by clicking on this, and you see the gray icon here, same here. But if you choose this blue thing up here, that is editing the entire section. So what we want to do is choose the section, and we want to go to layout, and we want to make sure it's not boxed, but it's full width. That way there won't be any white space on the sides. It's just going to be a nice full width treatment. So first things first, let's go ahead and add a background color to this side. And we do that by going over to, we choose the column and we go over to style. And then under background, we're going to choose classic. And then this is the color picker. And I've found a color that I like, a nice beige color. And by the way, whenever you use a color, you can always add it to the color picker so it's always there at the ready when you need it. So you don't have to keep entering it in manually. You'll just have the color you've chosen and then click on the plus icon right here. So that's kind of the general styling. We're not done yet by any means, but then what we want to do is add an image over to this side. So click on this column, style, and background type, we're still going to choose classic, but rather than choosing a color, we're going to choose an image right underneath. So click on choose image. And I've already got my images loaded up here, but if not, you would just drag it onto the stage. But I just wanted to make it easy here. So we're going to insert this image. And of course, it doesn't look like much of anything right now because we don't have this all styled up yet. So what we want to do is give all of this some more space because this does not look like a really appealing top of a website, does it? So we're going to choose the entire section and we're going to go over to advanced. So here's where we control the margin and the padding. So think of margin as the space outside of the blue box. In other words, we want to have 100 pixels of space between the outside of the box and the next element, whereas padding refers to the space inside the box. So if we wanted a bunch of space between this button and the edge of it, that is done by padding. So let's just go ahead and add a top pad. Oh, first of all, important to know, values can either be linked together, meaning if we did 200, it would be the same for all of them, or we can unlink it and have, independent values of each other. So, but anyway, I'm going to relink it and I'm just going to zero that out because what we really want to do here is add padding to the column, not the entire section. So click the column, advanced, padding. I'm going to unlink the values. I'm going to give it a 200, not 2000, 200 on the top, 100 on the right, 200 on the bottom, and 100 on the left. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to choose that text and click on Style. And then under Typography, that's where we make all these choices. So we can make the size quite a bit bigger, which is what I'd recommend here. And weight, I think we chose a little too heavy of a font when we chose the font text. So let's go back up to the hamburger menu. And I'm going to go to Default Fonts. I'm going to choose Primary Headline, and I'm going to drop this down to, let's see what 300, that's a little light, let's choose 400. Okay, I like that, so I'm going to click on Apply. So now let's go back to this text and back to Typography. So we can choose obviously the size, the weight, so we could override what we just did and make it bold. But what I want to do is under Transform, I want to make all this text uppercase. And you can also do things with the line height, so you can make it much more space or much less space. I think something like this. I'm going to bring that back to how it was. I think that looked fine. And if we want to make this text a bit bigger, we just choose it, Style, Typography, bump up the size to whatever looks good. And then the button, I always like to make a bigger deal about the button. So I'm going to click on that. And under Content, you can choose the size of it overall. So small, medium, large, extra large. Let's see what large looks like. All right, I like that actually. And then I'm going to click on Style. And what we can do, we can change the border radius. So if you see, there's a little bit of a rounded edge, which I like, but I also like kind of more of a pill form where it's just kind of circular on both sides. All right, looking good. So now what I want to do is fix the size and the placement of this image. So I'm going to click on that column. So underneath the image area here, you've got all these choices in terms of where the image is positioned. So let's start with size, and I like to do cover because that's going to make sure it's big enough to cover the entire space without being too big. And then position, we can do things like center, all these different choices. I think I'm just going to keep it on center. I think that looks good. All right, so one thing missing up here, we don't have a header menu. So let's go ahead and whenever you want to add something above a section, you're going to find the section and click on the plus icon. And that opens here. So we're going to create this header from scratch. So click on the plus icon and choose a 3-column layout. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take the call to action button, right click, copy, and then right up here on the top right click, paste. And we're going to go over here on the side under alignment. We're going to right justify that. And then we're going to see how you can always mess with the column width. So I'm just going to make it I'm just going to make it much tighter over here. Then what we want is the logo and the navigation menu. So go up to widgets and choose image, drag it in here, and then go back up to the grid for widgets. And we're going to type in nav. So what we're going to find is navigation menu. Remember that plugin we installed that was going to let us do this? That's where this comes from. We're going to drag this right into the middle section here. And that's just pulling in from a menu. So basically, within WordPress, you would have your pages, you would create a menu in WordPress, and then it would pull from there. So if you have more than one menu, you would make your choice here of which one you're going to draw from. But let's just go ahead and get our logo in here. So we'll click on the image placeholder and then choose image. And I've already got an image file right here. I'm just going to insert that. We can make it smaller, which I think is probably a good idea. Just about like that, looks good to me. And then notice how things aren't exactly looking centered vertically. So how to fix that is just click on the section and then under layout, vertical align, we're gonna go to middle. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. So now we can move on with the rest of the page. So let's say you have different services you wanna offer, or this could also be like a benefit section. We're just gonna do a nice 2-column layout, and we're going to grab a heading widget and put it right in there. And we're going to right click and duplicate it. We're going to have 2 headlines on top of each other. And then we're going to go over to the widget and we're going to drag an inner section into this guy right here. Now don't worry, it's all going to become very clear what we're doing in a second. So let's just go ahead and type in here. By the way, if you ever want to, when you need to change your text, you'll just click it and you'll always want to edit it over here on the left column. And I'm just going to style this text like we've done before. Okay, and then I'm going to change the background color of this column. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just kind of I'm using that soft color palette that is really kind of indicative of Instagram. So, and you can obviously feel free to use your own colors here, get your own inspiration. You know, even though we're doing this one layout, it really can be just about anything you want it to be. So, and one thing I'm noticing here is we also want this to be full width like this is. We don't want this white space. So click the section, layout, content width, full width. Perfect. And now I want to drag this to be much bigger than that column. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start adding in our content over here of our services, or these can be benefits or whatever you want it to be. So click on the widgets and we're going to drag an image and we're going to drag a header. And I am going to change the text to a different font. So I'm just going to click on typography and I'm going to choose Questrial. That's the thing, like whenever you add your own default fonts, you can always override them later. And I'm going to make the size a bit smaller. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want 3 of these next to each other, but rather than do this over and over again, I'm going to right click on this column, delete, and then so there's this column, then the intersection column, right click that, duplicate, and then again. So now I've got a nice 3-column layout. They're a little close to each other, so the way we fix that is choose this intersection, and then under layout columns gap, I'm going to choose extended and see what that looks like. Yeah, that's much better to me. So now let's just go in and pop in our images. So click the first one, choose image. All right, cool. So I've got the images in, and notice they're different sizes. This is a personal preference thing. This kind of said Instagram to me a little bit, so I kind of like that they're different sizes. But if you didn't like that, you would just choose 3 images that were the same dimensions. But I think that I want to round the edges, or round the corners rather, of these images. So I'm going to choose the image, go up to Style, and Border Radius. I'm just going to start messing with that. So I think, yeah, 9 looks about right to me. So what I do though, rather than do that on each time, and this goes for almost anything on the site, you're going to right click and then copy, and then right click here, paste style, and it'll carry that style over of the rounded corners. So there's a few things left to do here. I want a little bit more padding between the top and the image here, as well as on the bottom. And I don't like that this looks sloppy to me at this point. So let's choose the entire section, layout, vertical align, middle. That'll take care of this part. And let's set the padding a little higher. Okay, so I'm going to choose the section, go up to advanced, and I'm going to choose a padding of 50 on top. Okay, so notice what it did here. It didn't give us the background color, because what it did is this is for the whole section. So I'm glad I made this little mistake here. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to get rid of it. What we need to do to give it more space, but keeping the background color here, what we need to do is actually choose this intersection and then go to advanced, and we're going to give it a margin. I'm going to unlink the values. I'm going to do a top margin of 50 and a bottom margin of 50. And to get a preview, we can just close this window out just by clicking that arrow. It's looking pretty nice so far. One thing I'm not happy with, I would like there to be a little less space between these two headers. So I'm just going to click the top one, go up to advanced, and then margin, I'm going to unlink the values, and bottom, I'm just going to go into the negatives with it and just get it a little bit closer. Okay, next we might want to do a simpler section so it's easier on the eyes. Let's just do a nice kind of text-based section, maybe an About Us. So let's click on the plus icon and grab a 1-column layout. And we're going to go up to the widgets and we're going to drag in a heading and a text editor right underneath it. And we'll just pop in our text here. And I'll edit the style of it a little bit so it reads better. Okay, so I want to have an image background on this one. So let's click on the section itself and click up on Style. Then Background, we'll choose Classic, and then we'll choose an image. I found this one, so I'm going to insert that. Not looking too great so far. So I'm going to click on Attachment Fixed. That way it stays in place as we scroll past it, which I kind of like that. But we need to do something. So what I think I want to do is, because it's hard to read, right? So we want to make the background dark and the text light. So I'm going to add a background overlay on top of this image. So click on background and click on background overlay. And then we will choose classic, color. So I'm going to choose this kind of dark blue color. And then the way you can bump this up, it can be either more transparent or darker. Whichever you want. So you just use this slider and you just kind of eyeball it to see what looks good. And of course now I need to make this text light, so I'm gonna do that real quick. Okay, so a few things left to do here. I don't like when text goes this far from left to right. We want to make that a bit tighter. So I'm going to choose the whole section and layout, and it's box. So what we can do is we can choose with this slider here how wide the text is. I'm going to make it about 800. I think that's going to look nice. And I actually want to add a box all around this too. So I'm going to click on the column, style, background type classic, and I'm going to choose that same blue color we just chose. And then if I wanted to make that a little less opaque and just a little tiny bit transparent, I can do that with this slider here. So I'm going to do that. And now, last thing, I need to make sure that there's a little bit more padding between this and the top of the box, as well as outside of this blue box. So you'll see what I'm talking about here. Let's make sure the section or the column is chosen. Go up to Advanced, and I'm going to start increasing the padding just on all sides of it. I think that looks pretty good. Now the last thing to do is to give it a little bit more space above this. So what I want to do is unlink these values because I just want it to be on the top and bottom for margin. So let's give it a 50 on top and a 50 on bottom. All right, so let's see what we got. Yeah, I'm liking that. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, moving right along, let's add another 2-column layout, maybe for benefits. So I'm going to click on the plus icon and do a 2-column layout. And I'll go ahead up to the widgets. I will drag an image into this slot and a heading over here. And then also what I'm going to try to find, I'm going to go over to widgets. I'm going to type in icon box. All right, so it's this one right here. I'm going to drag it right underneath the heading. So first thing, I'm going to go ahead and give this some padding. So I'm going to click on the section, Advanced. I'll unlink. I'll give it 50 on top, 50 on bottom. I'll choose the image, click that, and then choose image. I've got this one chosen. Click on Insert. I'll go ahead and round those corners. All right, so now let's start changing our text. So I'm going to click on this. I'm just going to pop in why us, change the style, typography. I'm going to make it bigger like that, and I'm going to make it all uppercase. Okay, so now we've got an icon box. So how do we style that? How do we add our own touch to it? So make sure it's clicked. So basically what this is, it's a standalone element that has all these different elements within it. So it's not an icon and a heading and a text box. It's kind of all these things rolled into one. So the first thing I want to do, we've got, we can choose the icon and we can add in the heading and the description text. But I want to first change the icon position. You can have it be on the top like it is now, on the right, but I want it on the left. Okay, so I'm going to choose the heading. Let's go back over to content. I'm just going to, this is where you'd put the benefit name right here, and then you would describe it right here. And then let's talk about choosing icons. So all you have to do is click on icon library and choose the one that fits best. I'm going to choose this one, but I'm not happy with the style yet. So I'm going to click on Style, and here we can change the style of the icon as well as the written text. So let's go ahead and make the icon a different color, more of a brown color. And then remember, I'm gonna add that to our color palette so we don't have to do that again. And we can do all kinds of things like changing the spacing between it, which you might want to increase. We can change the size of the icon. I'm probably just going to put it back to how it was. I think it was fine. You can even rotate it, which is kind of cool. So a lot of things you can do. And then, so let's change the text now. I'm going to click on content. And so we can change the vertical alignment. It's top now. I think middle might look nicer. Yeah, I kind of like that better. And let's change the text typography for the benefit name. I'm going to click on typography. I'm going to change it to that cursive font that we have and bump up the size. But see how it's a little, the text is a little far from this text, so I'm going to change the line height now. That looks better. Okay, so now that I have it how I want it, I'm going to right-click, duplicate, and then duplicate again. And this is completely up to you, but I think I want a little bit of separation between there, not just in space, but with the actual divider. So I'm going to click on widgets and choose the divider widget and drag it right between like that. And then you can change the width to be smaller, kind of like it better like that. And I'm just going to change the color. I'm just going to keep it black, but I'm going to drag this down so it's not quite as dark. Just a little bit of a lighter touch. And I'll duplicate that, and then I'll drag that right in between. So let's take a look. Okay, so right away, I feel like there's not enough space between these columns, so I'm going to choose the whole section. Layout, column gap, I'm going to choose wide. Or let's see what wider looks like. Yeah, I kind of like that better. And this feels tight, so I'm going to choose the YS text. Advanced, I'm going to give it a margin on the bottom, unlink. Let's say 30. Yeah, looks good. So now you would just want to choose the right icons. All right, so now let's add a testimonial section, super important. So I'm going to just choose a one column layout and then drag in a heading and then an inner section because we want a 3-column layout for that. But we want the title to be able to be above it. So that's why we can't just have a straight up 3-column layout. So we would change this text. And let's change the background color. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add in testimonials. So go back up to widgets, type in testimonial, and we can't do the carousel with the free version, so we just have to do this the old-fashioned way, one at a time. So drag in a testimonial widget right into that block. And I want the actual testimonial to have a white background to it so it stands out. So let's choose the column that it's in, and then style, background type classic, and then just choose white. Okay, so now choosing the testimonial text, I'm actually going to replace title. It usually just kind of has a placeholder wanting you to put in the person's job title. I prefer to put in 5 stars. I just think it reads better as a testimonial that way. And then I think I want to make it left aligned as well. So now let's go up to style and see what we can do with the look of this. I'm pretty happy with the text of the testimonial itself, but let's mess with the name a little bit. What I want to do is typography. I want to bump the size up just a bit. I would like it to be all uppercase. And let's just change the weight to a little lighter. Let's make it 300 and see what that looks like. I like it. So now let's just go, we would just pop in the image, because obviously, you definitely want to have the image of the person who's giving the testimonial. It makes it come across better, especially in a very visual site like this. So you'd go up to content and then choose image, and then, let's just choose this one again. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to give this more padding on the inside, right? So click on the column, advanced, and let's give it a padding all the way around of 30. All right, that's looking pretty good to me. So what we want to do is duplicate this 3 times. So we're going to delete this column. We're going to right click, duplicate, and then duplicate. All right, but here's the thing. Notice how there's no separation between these. So how do we fix that? We can't actually do what we did before with the column gap. See, like it doesn't do anything because it just doesn't do anything. So I'm going to set that back to default. What we need to do is choose the column, advanced, and we need to give each one a bit of a margin. So I'm just going to do 10 pixels all the way around. Then to duplicate those results, remember we don't have to reinvent it. We can just right click, copy, right click, paste style. Don't just paste style. Now, one last thing, I just want to give this a little bit more padding on the top and bottom of the whole section. And I actually want to do something a little interesting here too. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. I want this image to kind of overlap with this section a little bit. So just makes things more interesting, and it's a cool trick to know. So choosing this section, I'm going to go to advanced, and then I'm going to unlink the values of padding. I'm going to give it a bottom padding of 50, but we're going to give it a little bit more on top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back up here. We're going to choose the section, and we're going to go to advanced, and we're actually going to take away the bottom padding of that. And then we're going to choose this column that this image is in, okay? We're going to choose the whole column, advanced, and then we're going to unlink the values of the margin, and we're just going to go into the negative with it. Okay, so we're going to overlap it, but notice how it's covering that up. So what we're actually going to have to do is we need this image to be above this one. So it's really easy to do. We just choose this whole section, and z-index is what makes the higher that number is, the further to the front it's going to be. The lower it is, the more to the back it's going to be. So let's just give this a 999. Brings it all the way to the front. So see what we've done there? We've kind of added a little bit of an overlap, just some visual interest. So now we're going to add a footer to the page. So we're just going to go underneath here. We're going to add a 2-column layout. We're going to put the logo here. So we're going to drag an image and then a text editor underneath that, followed by a heading over here. And then I'm going to type in social icons. We're just going to drag that right underneath this. So let's first give this a little bit of padding. So choose the section, advanced, unlink values. Let's give it 50 and 50. So we'll start by choosing the logo file. So click on the image, choose image, and we'll just use the same one we used before. And we can change the image size by just saying custom. Let's go ahead and say 200, width, and then apply. And then we're going to align it to the left. All right, so then here's where we'd want to put your address, for that local SEO factor. I'm just going to go ahead and pop that in as well as the phone number. And I'm going to go to style, and I'm going to tighten up the line height on this a bit. Cool. And now over here, I'm just going to change the text. And then for the social icons, what you'll want to do, obviously, so they're basically in their own little widgets within a widget. So, and you can add whichever ones you want. They've got a million of them. They've got, Instagram. So let's say if you want to add a new one, so you'd click on icon library, and you would just type in, whichever one you want, and then click on insert. And then if you want to get rid of one of these, you just click on the X. So let's start by aligning them to the left. And you can choose between rounded rectangles, squares, or I'm going to do a circle for this one. So the next thing you can do is you can either keep it the official color, so it's Facebook blue, YouTube red, whatever the color is for that platform. But what I want to do is brand it a little bit better. So I'm going to click on style, and I'm going to take it away from official color to custom, and I'm just going to choose that same, kind of blue, kind of black color that we've been using. From there, you can change the size. You can make them smaller. I think I'm going to make them about like that. And then you can change the spacing between them as well. And then, of course, to change the links to it, you just go to content. And for each one of these, you would just link right to your account. Okay, so one last thing we can do here to make things a little more kind of animated and fun is you can definitely add in some motion effects. So, for instance, I would take this whole section, and let's go over to under advanced. We have motion effects. We have all these different entrance animations you can do. So what I would recommend here is probably a fade in from the right. So see how that looks like? So when you scroll down to it, it kind of animates in. And you could take this section right here and you could do maybe just a fade in. I think that looks nice. It's nice and subtle. And then this whole block you could probably have, so advanced motion effects, you could do a fade in up. And then you could take this one. I mean, now we're getting a little crazy, but I just want to show you what's possible. I'm gonna do fade in left with that. So, you know, get creative, have fun with it. But yeah, let's check things out from the top to bottom. So we've got this really nice, clean, airy feeling website that would look very nice with, you know, choose your own colors, choose your own fonts. But something like this would make you look very branded and very put together. And it took us less than an hour to do it. Okay, so remember, that's how you physically create your website. But do you have persuasive content or a content strategy at all? If not, you're just going to want to click right up here to get your copy of my free on-demand masterclass on how to create and launch your own profitable client-generating website. And I'm going to show you exactly what you need to amplify your business in under 60 minutes. So just click right up here and I'll see you inside the training.